your career, you can't do anything, then you blame everybody. You took that choice.
Welcome to The Breakfast.
A breakfast where we unbundle top and big stories of the day.
Is vaccine the only way out of this pandemic?
No, definitely not.
Many Ghanaians just want a peaceful election and they are hoping there will be no rigging.
There is nothing bad in borrowing for infrastructure. The minister added that he was impressed.
Please come and see yourself what we are doing with the money we have borrowed.
It's very important. The way we brand ourselves is the way people will carry us.
It's just the driver of the two vehicles that were completely bought.
This one was here screaming.
What do you recommend the government do to support this sector?
Direct intervention, that's what every government all over the world has done.
We are not a parallel ticketing structure. A multiple core is a complementary core.
What I will not encourage Christians to do is to carry dagger and follow anybody. No.
Join us on The Breakfast, 7 a.m. Mondays to Fridays.
This medal has been directed to empower 1,000 persons with disabilities in each state in the next 12 months.
When I start hearing the shoot of gun.
Whatever I've done.
Every public policy has winners and losers, and some will not be very happy with you, while others, usually the silent majority, will be quite happy.
Good morning and welcome to The Breakfast here on Plus TV Africa. It's a Wednesday morning, and of course, I always like to call it Hump Day. The weekend really starts on this day for me. Good morning once again. I am Osaogie Ogbonwan. How are you, Aneta?
I'm fine. Good morning to you and good morning to you. Thanks for joining us on The Breakfast on Plus TV Africa.
Great to have you here. And of course, coming up on The Breakfast this morning, the Benue State Governor, Samuel Ortom, meets with President Muhammadu Buhari 3 days after the attack on his convoy. The governor says he has made recommendations about security to the president. The question is, who really tried to kill Governor Ortom, and how can we best keep Nigeria secure?
Also coming up on The Breakfast. A woman goes to a Belgian hospital seeking help with giving birth, but returns with a destroyed cervix. Her sister-in-law is also paralyzed by the same hospital. We'll be talking to Adichie about her ordeal in Belgium.
And of course, that's a conversation that we're looking forward to this morning because of how big that story is. We're also going to be reviewing the newspapers this morning and telling you about two things that took place today in history. One of them is with sport and how a career ended in a very shameful manner. Good morning once again and welcome to The Breakfast. I am Osaogie Ogbonwan.
And I am Aneta Felix. Good to have you join us again. Let's begin with the World Happiness Report. As you may know, Finland has been named as the happiest country in the world for the 4th year in a row. The Happiness Report measures and uses subjective well-being to track and explain the quality of lives all over the world. The 2021 report also used data to trace the size and distribution of the happiness impacts of COVID-19. Back here in Africa, Nigeria is the continent's 2nd happiest country after the island of Mauritius. Mauritius placed 44th in the global ranking and Nigeria came 59th.
I'm not sure, how that played out, to be honest. And a lot of people also didn't agree when they saw that report. No one was arguing with Finland, same way nobody would argue if it was Australia or Sweden or anything there. But seeing Nigeria in 2nd place in Africa, a lot of people didn't agree. People even said, oh, maybe it was rigged. Maybe the reporter, whoever it is, was bribed. But
I asked myself, really, I wasn't surveyed. How did you come up with this report?
Yeah, so I think they have ways that they carry out their analysis, and eventually come up with, these reports every now and then. It was, many years ago, a couple of years ago, that Nigeria was happiest country in the world. But if you ask yourself, how different we are, from that time, what really is the difference between that time and now? There's, a lot of people, there's so much that has changed, and it also really tells about the Nigerian attitude to, in the face of all the turmoil and all the, hardship and the, increased petrol prices, electricity prices, cost of living is skyrocketing, inflation, and all of that, happening at the same time. But Nigerians, find a way to stay alive and be, resilient somehow, some way, in the midst of all of that. And so it's maybe one of our, I've always described it as one of our best attributes and also one of our flaws. And the reason, I would say it's one of our flaws is because it is what limits the Nigerian from actually demanding for better.
That's what Fela called suffering and smiling.
Yes, so because we don't get to demand, because we don't also get to realize that we deserve better and, certain levels in healthcare, with education, with security. One of the things we're going to be talking about this morning is the governor of Benue State going to see the president and making recommendations with regard to security, which, doesn't even sound normal in any other place, but that's what is happening here. But we've gotten used to, these things as normal. It rained yesterday in Lagos, sometime in the afternoon. Since then, I haven't had electricity. For me as a Lagosian, exactly, for me as a Lagosian, that is normal. It's normal, because,
yes.
People will joke about it and say, oh, whenever it rains, the EKDC wants the wires to dry first, before they turn the power back on.
I was having a video conversation with a friend yesterday and there was light. And I asked, how do you have light while it's raining? That's how much we've been conditioned to believe that we don't deserve certain things in certain conditions. So
we deserve them, but we have gotten used to the fact that we wouldn't have them. And so years and years and years will pass, and we still have not been able to get ourselves to a place where it is normal to have electricity. It is normal to wake up in the morning and you have electricity to, you know, to carry on with your life. I woke up this morning, I had to turn on the gen at 5 a.m., which, you know, something that I personally hate. I hate the sound of, I hate the idea of a generator in the first place. But I had to turn it on at 5 a.m. so I can get myself ready for work. But for me, that is normal, you know, and driving to work this morning, the roads, you know, crazy here and there. There's parts of Lekki Phase 1 that, you know, gets flooded immediately, you know, it rains. And that is normal. That is what we live with here. So that is the Nigerian for you. At the end of all of it, at the end of all that stress, at the end of being in traffic for 5 hours, at the end of missing your flights because of traffic, somewhere on Admiralty Way yesterday, a truck decided to deliver building materials to some, you know, building and parked across the road. Blocked the road.
No questions asked.
No questions, no explanations,
and
nothing.
There for
just
hours.
blocked the road. And so every other person who had to take that lane now had to join the incoming lane. And that is normal. That's the kind of madness that we see as normal. And so when you go home after all of that, after going through all of that, you go home, you relax, you watch TV, you have, you know, good laugh. Our comedians are making a lot of money because Nigerians need to laugh. But I don't see that as something to celebrate, really. Placing us as the second happiest, you know, in Africa, to me, really
just masks a lot of our suffering, really.
Feels
but
like,
really, let's make this personal now. Are you happy?
Ooh.
I know it's a big question, really, because asking myself that question, we're second happiest people in the world. If you ask your friends, take 10 of your friends and ask them that question, the answer would be in the negative. Lots of people want to leave this country. Lots of people want to find better lives for themselves. And even people like one of our guests this morning who left the country in search of a better life doesn't have a great story to tell today. So really, how do we escape from our circumstances?
So there's a lot of ways that a Nigerian would answer that question. The same way they always respond when they say how's business. They say, oh, we thank God.
Yes, we thank God.
You know, the Nigerian would always try to... The Nigerian would always try to continue to speak positive about, you know, how they are. And so if you ask a regular Nigerian, are you happy? Most times they'll say, yeah, I'm okay. Things aren't so good, but I'm okay. You know, and you know, there's certain, you know, when they say every person is going through their own personal struggles and their personal battles, they may not be in the best place, you know, for themselves at that moment, but they would always try to hold on to the parts of, you know, their lives at that time that are good.
Offer hope.
Yes,
regardless.
You know, so the answer, you know, most Nigerians who, you know, gave is yes, you know, because at that moment, they would look out for the things that they are, you know, excited about, the things that bring them a little bit of happiness. They have a roof over their heads. They have one child. They're married. They're, you know, they're healthy, which are things that, you know, everyone should appreciate. So yes, everybody will say, yes, I am happy. But if you, you know, reach to the core of every Nigerian, a lot of people are unhappy.
Lots of discontents, you know, job dissatisfaction, lots of things like that. But the stats say we're the second happiest in the world.
Yes.
Yeah, in the world.
Yes, we are. Second happiest in Africa, actually.
In Africa.
Finland is first in the world.
Yes.
Let's move away from happiness now to other things that aren't so exciting. You know, one reason, once again, why a lot of Nigerians, you know, deal with poor service here and there, deal with, you know, very, very dilapidated systems and still, you know, remain second happiest in Africa. Nigerian airlines are used to delays. There's hardly a week when you don't hear of planes departing hours behind schedule. The sad news is that things don't seem to be getting better. I'll share with you a tweet, you know, that I also saw yesterday. The tweet says, my wife slept in the police station yesterday because she arrived Lagos past midnight from Abuja, and the police refused to accept her boarding pass as a valid reason. A flight scheduled to fly initially in the morning and then moved to 9:30 p.m. and then again moved to 11:30 p.m. That's, you know, was her experience. Eventually, she slept in the police station because, of course, she had broken the curfew, and she was, of course, moving around when there was a curfew in Lagos at that time. Most Nigerian police officers wouldn't care about things like that. And a lot of, you know, Twitter users also reacted to it. There's people, someone like Fumi Oyajogun, who's had this to say. She tweeted, "Please don't book the Abuja to Lagos 11:30 p.m. flight for a particular airline. Falsely advertised at 7:30 p.m. Every night, they pretend the flight has been moved to 8:30 p.m. and then 9:50 p.m. Then every night, it eventually leaves at 11:30 p.m. And there's a curfew in Lagos. Don't say I didn't tell you." That's what she tweeted. Another person, CC_INY, tweeted, "Omo, yesterday's 7:30 p.m. flight landed at 1:30 a.m. in Lagos. The long wait, discomfort, and extra money spent to lodge in a hotel after curfew, so stressful." These are some of the lapses in the system that we run here in Nigeria. It affects everyone. And most times it's because Nigerians don't have that system where an airline like that can be sued and will pay. We don't have a judicial system that we're confident enough to walk into or to approach, and we're sure that we'll get justice. We also don't have a system that lets police officers understand that once in a while it's okay to know that people will break the curfew because of certain reasons. And so that's the environment that we live in. And why will she spend the night in the police station? Why is she being arrested? Because she broke a curfew.
This story hits very close to home because I know lots of people who've had terrible experiences and missed opportunities because they missed their flight. Okay, for example, just yesterday, a friend of mine was scheduled to travel to Delta. He had booked his flight. He left in the morning. Stayed in the airport, waited, because he was told that the flight was postponed. So he had to wait and wait and wait. And then he called later at night that he was going back home. Like, you're supposed to have been in Delta hours ago. He said the flight was cancelled and the airline was refunding all their tickets or refunding their fee. So someone that was supposed to have left Lagos early in the morning, waited in the I don't know why the word hospital keeps coming to my mind, waited in the airport for a long time, only to be told that the flight was cancelled. So he had to come back. A whole day wasted. We have no sense of timing. We have no sense, like these things that should be common. And in other countries, like you mentioned, you could sue and they could, tell you your next few flights are free. Your next few flights are on us. But nothing like that here. These airlines, they have the upper hand and really no system to make sure that
it might exist here, but the timing, the stress, the legal fees that you have to pay, and go through all of that might just, a lot of
emails
people
back and forth, phone calls. And there's another thing I saw online. People, were alleging that what they do is you book a ticket, let's say for 10 a.m. and they send you a personal message and tell you your flight has been postponed to like 2 p.m. But you go to the airport, maybe you were already there early. You find out that 10 a.m. flight was actually leaving. That what they do was maybe there was an important client or something, an important passenger, and they sell your ticket to that person and move your flight. Isn't that just the height of corruption?
Yes, it is.
Oh my God.
Absolutely. And of course, we don't have a railway system also that should be an alternative to taking, flights, sadly. All right. Well, so much to talk about this morning. We will delve, deeper into the Ogbole story, a woman who lost her cervix, because of medical malpractice or however you can describe it. And of course, a surrogate mother who also tried to step in to help her have a baby, eventually left the hospital paralyzed. It's one of the things that we're going to be talking about this morning on The Breakfast. Of course, Governor Tom meeting President Buhari would also come up as part of our discussions. But before that, it's time for Off the Press. What major news stories have made the headlines this morning? We'll be sharing them with you after the short break.
Do stay with us.
We can't talk about education reform if we don't decolonize our education system.
What we do not understand, we will stigmatize. Because it's just cultural. And I think it's just human nature.
They stop paying us salary. I don't like remembering it.
I am angry at Nigeria. I'm angry at this government which seems to be letting us down. I'm angry at us as a people.
In the process of struggling to free myself from his hand, he tore my pants and he raped me.
Yes, I commit offense truly.
Young girl, do you know where you are going? I say, I'm going to America. I say, now so that they talk, you are going to Libya, which America?
As it then do mark our place, some people they die now.
This is Plus TV Africa. Big stories live here.
Welcome back. It's now time for the breakfast on Plus TV Africa. To make sense of the papers today, we're joined by Ademola Akinbola, the publisher of the Podium Media. Good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning. It's my pleasure once again.
All right.
Thank you.
So we'll be taking a look at the top stories here, and then, yes, we'll delve right in. The Punch newspaper. Autumn visits Buhari. Governors say 2023 polls under threat. Benue governor advises Nigerians to stop inflammatory comments. Akeredolu says, with full-scale banditry, nobody will think of 2023 elections. And Ondo State governor says Buhari's second term is the best time for restructuring. Emefiele, CBN governor, says we disburse $80 million weekly for school fees and BTAs. Osinbajo here is saying we're expecting 84 million AstraZeneca vaccine doses this year. Nigeria vaccinates 215,277 277,000 people. Ghana vaccinates 420,000 and 7 states shun vaccination exercise. AFG begins process for concession of 12 highways. Also, on the front page of the Punch newspaper this morning, we see a picture here of people holding placards, and the Punch captions this: protesting parliamentary workers demand autonomy for state assemblies. We're working to rule Nigeria for at least 32 years. That's a statement from the ruling All Progressives Congress. Again, Amotekun seizes 100 cows over illegal grazing in Ondo State. Controversy surrounds apprentice death in custody over businessman's missing 14 million naira goods. NBA protests as magistrate court orders lawyer handcuffed, jails counsel for contempt. Reps grill amnesty boss over 21 audit queries. And lastly, NDLEA seizes UK, Australia-bound cocaine, heroin in courier firms. Those are the stories on the Punch newspaper this morning.
All right, and now on the Nation newspapers, it says there, I think that's from Maimala Buni, it says, APC will rule Nigeria for 32 years, Buni boasts. Party inaugurates panel. Also, autonomy, workers shut houses of assembly. MPC okays more CBN spending to boost economy. And still on the Punch, Amotekun seizes 300 cows in Ondo State. Telcos reject NIBSS request for SIM swap list. And the big one there, ex-military chief says troops lack proper arms to fight. Soldiers battling Boko Haram in Hilux vans with outdated guns. We can also find on the Nation this morning, Lagos Ogunbauchi top vaccination chart. And shot Ekiti police woman dies. That's a really sad story. Autumn meets Buhari over attack by herders. That's one of the last ones. I think it's the last one we're going to be taking from the Nation newspapers this morning.
Okay. The Daily Independent reads, Nigeria sitting on a keg of gunpowder. Autumn tells Buhari, says there won't be 2023 elections if insecurity persists. Still the story about parliamentary workers halting legislative businesses nationwide. Imo Senate sits. Supreme Court halts trial after APC accused justices of colluding with APC. Gbajabiamila overrides deputy, accepts petition from diaspora thieves. Zenith Bank retains position as Nigeria's best bank. Kogi government here is explaining why they are yet to receive COVID-19 vaccines. CBN keeps rates amid rising inflation. PDP tackles APC over boast to stay beyond 32 years in power or in office. United Capital shareholders to receive 4.2 billion naira dividend. Those are the top stories on the Daily Independent.
And lastly, just before we bring in Ademola Akinbola this morning, let's go to the Nigerian Tribune. We can see here, secessionists frustrated. Nigeria must restructure, says Fayemi. Akeredolu spoke for himself, Akintoye-led group says. And also, Gbajabiamila accepts thieves' petition rejected by Deputy Speaker. Godwin Emefiele is in the news. It says, with $36.2 billion foreign reserves, no need to panic over dollars. Appeal court appointment, I was quoted out of context, says the NBA president. And the big one there says, how Nigeria lost $5.7 billion to shoddy concessions and PPP projects. That's from the reps. Records a $90.5 million loss yearly from Lagos Airport's BOT. Autumn saying insecurity, may scuttle 2023 poll. That's from Governor Autumn. And we also can find there, Obaseki demolishes ex-deputy governors, two others' houses in Benin. And we're just going to squeeze one more. Boko Haram fighting with arms and ammunition seized from Nigerian troops. All right, Ademola Akinbola, let's bring you in here. Get your thoughts in on some of those big ones. There's a lot of major stories.
Okay, Mr. Akinbola, this story, we've seen it on several newspapers this morning. It's about the All Progressives Congress, explaining their plans to stay in power for another 32 years. This is a statement from Mai Malabuni. He's the chairman of the National Caretaker Committee of the APC. And he's saying that the APC needs about 8 more terms to improve the lives of Nigerians. What's your reaction to that?
That's a very reckless statement to make at this time in the history of Nigeria. The decision as to who rules between APC and PDP is entirely in the hands of the electorate. It's not for him to say. It typically shows the mentality of the average Nigerian politician. We've been there for 6 years. This is where we are. You're telling us you need 32 years more. You might as well ask for forever. So personally, I think that's an irresponsible statement coming from someone like Puni. And also, you tie that to the statement by Autumn that if insecurity continues, then the election in 2023 will be under threat. It shows the way politicians think. Everything is about elections. We're talking about the lives of people who don't even know what will happen tomorrow, don't know whether some people will live to see next month. He's talking about 2023 elections, which means everything to the average politician is about winning elections. They narrowly define every problem as problem of election. So I think the statement by Puni and the one by Autumn, they are self-serving, they are irresponsible, and they are ill-advised coming at this time. Okay, a lot of people have been killed in this country. Autumn will not be the first person to be attacked. And yes, of course, we sympathize with him. We identify with him at this period, but that is not enough excuse for you to go ahead and make reckless statements that have nothing to do, that does not even take into consideration what will happen tomorrow. So I think APC is just been, Buni specifically, is just been, it's been reckless with that statement. It's for Nigeria to decide, and if things continue this way, you and I know exactly what should happen in 2023. In an ideal society, APC should have no business winning the presidential election in 2023 if things continue this way.
Well, I remember also in the past, the PDP had made a similar statement. about ruling the country for about 60 years. Let's also, go further into the Governor Tom meeting the president. What's your reaction to that? And of course, the demands that he is making with regards his security.
Well, like I said earlier on, this is not an isolated incident. The whole of Nigeria is under siege. Okay, so if Otom is using this opportunity to renew calls for improved security, yes, of course, we support that. That's what everybody is asking for. Okay, and there's nothing new that Otom has said. We've always known that we need to tighten security. We've always known that lives are not safe. Okay, but we need to know exactly what Otom, as the Chief Security Officer of Benue State, what has it done so far? It's not enough to cry to Abuja. What are you doing yourself in your state, in your domain? Okay, so the visit to Buhari is okay, but as far as I'm concerned, there's nothing new. Okay, instead of all these sound bites, we want to see action. Action on his part, action on the part of the president. People want to see decisions being taken as to how lives will be safeguarded. It's not about election. The average Nigerian is not interested in 2022 election. This is 2021. The average Nigerian is more concerned about his safety and safety day to day. Election is not, it's not our focus right now. We want to be safe. Inflation at 17% is unacceptable. Unemployment at 30% is unacceptable. Those are the issues that Nigerians want to tackle. We're not interested in the election. Let's leave that for now. When we get to that bridge, we'll cross it.
Yeah,
okay?
Mr. Akimbola,
happened okay.
Still on the same discussion. If you remember, there's a group called the Fulani Nationality Movement that had claimed responsibility for the attack on Governor Otom. We still haven't heard that any of those people or their members have been arrested or are being questioned. Does Governor Otom's meeting with the president also, say that he might be seeking the president to take, bigger steps with regards, groups like that in the country?
As far as I understand Nigeria, nothing's going to happen. Fulani Nationality Movement is a faceless organization. Okay, we know Mietiala, we know those who are behind them, but these guys came up from nowhere and said they are behind the attack on Otom. Whether it's true or not, we do not know. But what I'm saying is that Otom's visit to Abuja will not change anything. He might as well have issued a statement from his independent state asking for government to step up security. So this is not the time for anybody to engage in showmanship. Honestly, that's what I see Otom doing there. Showmanship, crying to Abuja. So what it means is that who is going to cry to Abuja on behalf of Nigerians, thousands, millions of Nigerians who are being attacked today? Who is going to cry to Abuja for them? So for me, it's neither here nor there, really. Yes, of course, we all know what needs to be done. We all know that things are not going well, security in Nigeria, but hey.
Now there are concessions to private firms, basically. And according to the government, this would cost an estimated 1.34 trillion naira, from private sector investment. So is this the way to go, Mr. Akimbola?
Absolutely. This is the way to go if we truthfully and sincerely follow due diligence, procedures that guide PPP. This is the way to go. We've always said it. Let us ask President Obasanjo, why did they dismantle the toll gates? Ever since those toll gates were dismantled, the condition of the roads became worse. Okay? Concessioning roads is done all over the world with the best of intention. Okay? You get people to manage the roads and they deliver to government. All Nigerians want is for us to drive on good roads, okay? Roads that are safe to drive 24 hours of the day. So concessioning is good, but let us also look at the story somewhere I saw that government has lost a lot of money due to poor concessioning agreements. A case in point here is the Municipal Mohammed International Airport 2. We all remember what happened with Wale Babalaki, okay? The confusion, the court suit, and everything. So let us welcome this development, but we pray that government will do it with the best of intention, and that those who are competent and qualified will be allowed to win the bids. It shouldn't be job for the boys, because this is serious business. Okay, so that it doesn't end up being the way we unbundled NEPA and we sold the various components to people who lack capacity, financial muscle to do the job. So I welcome concession in principle, but I will seriously appeal to government to follow all the necessary procedures and to ensure that merit is the guiding principle here. Merit is very important. We need to give this roles to the best people who have the capacity to manage them in a way that we won't have any cause to regret this at all. So I welcome concession if it is done very well.
All right. On the Nation, the big story there on the Nation says the ex-military chief is saying troops lack proper arms to fight. It's 2021, where more than 10 years since the Boko Haram started. We've eventually now, of course, started to hear about bandits and kidnappers and headers and whatnot. Do you think that we still should be hearing of things like that with the amount of funding that should have gone into our security setup in the last decade?
Yes and no. Yes, because it takes time, really, to adequately equip your armed forces. It takes time. It costs a lot of money. No, because I'm aware, and you are aware, that a lot of money has been spent or has been reportedly voted for procurement of arms and ammunition for Nigerian armed forces. And of course, we are very much aware of what happened under Jonathan and what has been reported under even this administration. Okay, 2 weeks ago, the Minister of Defense was talking about, look, we spent so much money, we have not seen results. So if ex-military chief is coming out to tell us, oh, the military we know they lack proper arms because corruption has crept into the procurement process. It's unfortunate, but that's the truth. Like I said there 2 weeks ago, in a decent society, the immediate serving military chief should be probed. Okay, if you are there for 4 years or thereabout, security has worsened, then you need to tell us what you have done. Or what did we do? We rewarded them with ambassadorial positions. This is Nigeria. So as long as we shy away from calling people to question when we entrust so much trust in them, we'll continue to have tales of wars like this. It's just so unfortunate.
The Tribune also says Boko Haram fighting with arms and ammunition seized from Nigerian troops, which of course also doesn't paint a very good picture of what we're dealing with at this time.
At all. Some probably were even sold. Okay, we've heard of soldiers, policemen being accused of supplying ammunition and arms to armed robbers, to bandits. Okay, so it is not every time that criminals actually snatch these arms from our military people. Actively, some of them connive with these bandits, connive with these criminals by supplying them these ammunition. So that is the extent to which corruption has affected even the procurement of arms and what we manage security in Nigeria. It's a shame. Quite frankly, it's a shame. And as long as we do not hold people accountable, I do not see an end to this. Not in the near future at all. At all.
Okay, so
we need to hold people accountable. Yeah.
So moving away from security matters now to the coronavirus and vaccination. We know what the stance of the Kogi State Governor Yahaya Bello has been on the coronavirus, pandemic basically, and his stance as well on vaccination. But on the Daily Independent here, we see a story from the Kogi State government defending themselves and explaining why they are yet to receive the COVID-19 vaccines. And from the Commissioner of Information in Kogi State, he's saying here that why they are yet to receive COVID-19 vaccines is because the cold room where these vaccines were supposed to be stored were destroyed last year during the EndSARS protest, and they were repairing them, and that the cold rooms are now fixed, and they've written to the Nigerian government to send vaccines to them. I don't know. Do you think this is justifiable, seeing what the government position has been on this matter before now?
It is pure balderdash. It is pure nonsense. I mean, permit the use of that word. We've been talking about receiving vaccines for how many months now? 6 months or thereabouts. And the Kogi government, right from day one, never wanted to. And the question you asked is, where is the House of Assembly in all of this? Where are the senators? Where are the reps members representing Kogi State? Why are they not calling the governor to order? Why are they all aligning with him? Okay, the governor, yes, is the executive, is the number one security system, but we have House of Assembly who should be able to say, hey, Mr. Governor, the people that we represent, they want this vaccine. You don't want it personally, fine. Your family doesn't want it, fine. But the people of Kogi State, whom we represent, they want this vaccine. That has not happened. And you begin to wonder, governors have become so powerful in Nigeria that the House of Assemblies have become mere rubber stamps. So that excuse is not tenable. It's not tenable, and it's sad that the Kogi governor is using both direct and indirect means to sabotage the vaccination exercise and to put the lives of the people of Kogi State at risk. It's totally unacceptable. It's unacceptable.
All right. So still talking about coronavirus vaccines, we see a story here, comparing how Nigeria has fared with Ghana. It's saying Ghana has vaccinated 420,000 people, but Nigeria has vaccinated half of that number, 215,000 as 277 people. But good news, we heard yesterday that, first of all, South Africa was selling some of its AstraZeneca vaccines because, they were not effective against the local variant, and then MTN purchased some of that and have made donations to Nigeria. So you think we can catch up pretty soon?
Oh, yes, sure. And I think the vice president is also saying somewhere today that we're expecting maybe about 8 million more vaccines. So I believe that we are on the right path, okay? And I'm so happy that Lagos, Ogun State, and which other state, they are leading in terms of public response, maybe because of enlightenment, education, and exposure, okay? And so, which means, yes, we've started, and I believe that the positive response from these states will spread to other states. We need to start somewhere, really. And we don't have to compare ourselves to Ghana. Ghana may have done more as of now, but let's see what happens in another 3 months. I believe that we have enough time and resources to catch up.
All right, so we're going to quickly go to The Guardian. One of the stories there says, only justice can stop secession threats. Fire me, Sani, others tell federal government. Do you agree with that? In the lack of, seeming justice for these persons who have lost lives and property to violence from bandits and the likes, do you think that, the secession threats will continue?
Totally. Where there's no justice, there's no peace, and where there's no peace, there's no development. Okay, inequality will always lead to agitations. People are talking about recession, they're talking about restructuring, they're talking about regionalism, because they are not happy with the way the federal government is handling various issues. Okay, the nepotistic tendency, the over-reliance on the particular section of the country in terms of appointments and all other things will continue to fuel the cause for recession. Okay, so it is not enough to say, oh, we shouldn't restructure. Let us address those issues. Let us go back and look at the recommendations that were made by the National Conference on Presidential Time. That document needs to be revisited. We are postponing a decision that's critical to the future of this country. Okay? The structuring will not happen overnight. We need a government that will listen to the people. You cannot continue to shout people down. You cannot continue to call them or label them or stigmatize them because they're agitating. If there was justice, if there was equality, if asking for as long as there's injustice, as long as people don't feel safe or feel appreciated in Nigeria, they will continue to ask for restructuring. Absolutely.
All right, and of course, it would continue to give rise to small heroes in different parts of the country. Sunday Igboho is the latest one that we're talking about now. Is it likely that another region might also, have his own or their own?
Sorry, I didn't hear you.
I said,
I didn't hear that.
It's likely that it will continue to give rise to these small or local heroes springing up in different parts of the country. Sunday Igboho is currently the one that is making headlines from the southwest. Asari Dokubo also was in the news a few days ago speaking about his own Biafra agitation. And, is it likely that we'll continue to see these, local heroes spring up here and there across the country?
Oh, I didn't get most of what you said, but if I just try, I heard Sunday Igboho, I heard Asari Dokubo. Yeah, nature abhors vacuum. Okay, nature abhors vacuum. Local heroes will continue to spring up to advance the cause of their people as long as government does not do what it's supposed to do. You can't blame Sunday Igboho. He saw an opportunity, okay, he maximized it, and it's now been touted as the symbol of Yoruba regionalism. Whether that is true or not is debatable. But what I'm saying is that if we do not agree to do what we need to do, the individuals will take it upon themselves to fight. Excuse me. They will take it upon themselves to do what they think government has failed to do. So you can't blame Asari Dokubo. Okay, he has made that statement over a week ago. He's not been arrested. Nothing has happened. Sunday Igboho is walking free because you know that they are saying the truth. Okay, you may not agree with how they are going about it, but hey, Sunday Igboho today has made a statement in Nigeria. Sunday Igboho today has made a point. He has created an awareness which nobody can dispute. And all we need to do is to build on what he is doing. Okay? People like Nnamdi Kanu, people like Asari Dokubo, there are so many of them out there who are silently and quietly agitated. And as long as you do not address these concerns, there will be more Sunday Igbohos. There will be more Asari Dokubos. And you want to ask, is that the way to run a country? Okay, if you continue to neglect minority opinion simply because you're in government, then of course, like someone said, as long as you do not allow people to make peaceful changes, then you are indirectly asking for violent changes. And in what dimension that will happen, nobody can predict. We do not pray for war, we do not pray for anything terrible, but the important thing is that these concerns, these agitations are becoming too loud to be ignored. They're becoming too intense that we cannot continue to sidestep them.
All right. I also want us to go, a little back. We spoke about Governor Tom and meeting the president, but how damaging is this to... early on the program, we started by talking about things that seem to be normal for us here in Nigeria. And you also mentioned that you don't expect that the Fulani nationalist movement, which apparently is faceless as it stands, you don't expect that they would be questioned or there would be arrests made. But how damaging is it to our country and to what we stand for as a nation that a governor can almost be assassinated and we have accepted that as normal and we've moved on? And we don't have a country that has immediately taken steps to ensure that it never repeats itself, or has immediately taken steps to arrest those who were responsible. So we're left to imagine now what we'll be talking about if they were successful, if Governor Tom lost his life in that attack. What would be the narrative today, and how damaging is it for us that we have seemingly accepted that as, okay, one of the things in the news and we've moved on?
Do you know that there are some people in Nigeria today who are saying to themselves, it serves him right? Do you know some people are saying that? That if it has happened to other people, if it's happening to Autumn, then maybe government will not take it seriously. We do not pray for any of our leaders to die or to be attacked. But we are human beings with blood running in our veins. Okay, so maybe people are saying maybe when the leaders begin to get directly affected by the security in Nigeria, maybe they will do something about it. Okay, Autumn escaped narrowly and is gone to Abuja. How many times has he gone to Abuja to plead the cause of the people of Benue State? How many times has he made this kind of noise that he's making? Okay, so it's damaging. I agree. It has gotten to a stage where even the governor of the state is not safe. But remember that the chief of army staff himself ran into an ambush and he escaped narrowly. So it's really, really bad. And that is sending a very dangerous signal, not only to Nigerians, but Nigerians who are in diaspora. Okay? And that is going to affect the foreign remittances that are coming in from Nigeria. People will rather stay where they are safe rather than come to where they are not safe. So it sends a very damaging message to everybody out there. Okay? But like I said, there are people who are silently saying, thank God, they are finally feeling the heat too. And let's see how they will react.
Okay. Before we wrap up, I think we need to talk about the story right now because the Nigerian Bar Association are currently protesting something that happened in Abuja. The story here on The Punch reads, NBA protests as magistrate orders lawyer handcuffed and jails counsel for contempt of court. So the story here, according to The Punch, was that at the Abuja Magistrate Court, Magistrate Ibrahim Mohammed ordered the policemen to arrest and handcuff a lawyer. His name is Eburu Bats for challenging him on the summary of a case before the court. So while he was, delivering his judgment on the matter, this lawyer interjected. And so the magistrate sentenced him to 2 months immediately without trial. So the NBA now is protesting and saying this is an arbitrary abuse of power and that there was no trial simply because he interjected in court. He just sentenced him and he was handcuffed and arrested. Oof. Where do you stand on this issue, Mr.
Akimola? We are not too far away from the jungle when you hear things like this. First of all, the court has its rules. There are orders of proceedings, okay, which the lawyer should have been very much aware of. Okay, so on one hand, the lawyer might have heard in breaching certain sections of the court order. On the other hand, should the judge have gone to that extent, should the magistrate have gone to the extent of ordering him to be handcuffed and to be jailed without a trial? Okay, so I think he should have played by the rules. Okay, if the lawyer had done something wrong, then what does the law say? What do the rules say? Okay, so, and whatever happened to tempering justice with mercy? You are delivering your judgment, the man was interjecting and was interrupting you, then of course you apply the rules. Okay, I know that this issue will be resolved. Now that the NBA has intervened, I'm sure the man will be released. And of course, it will guide us going forward in how lawyers conduct themselves. I remember in the days of Chief Gani Family, he was very fond of taking on judges and all that, but I never recall an incident where he was tried and he was handcuffed and he was jailed. Okay, so in this case, I think the judge went a bit too far. No matter what the lawyer did, I think he went a bit too far.
So it was a case of.
But I'm very good for that. Yeah.
So I'm saying you're saying it's a case of two wrongs don't make a right.
No, they don't. They don't. I mean, the lawyer may be out of exuberance or probably got carried away and couldn't just contain his emotion. And the judge, who is supposed to be older, wiser, should have struck a balance between the two to avoid this crisis that is brewing. So I very much believe that the guy will be released very soon. He'll be released very soon.
Maybe he woke up on the wrong side of the bed that day. Good morning, once again.
Yes.
Thanks once again for your views this morning, and looking forward to speaking with you again.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Have a lovely day. Bye.
You too.
Thank you.
Stay with us this morning. We have a little bit more, or actually a lot more to share with you this morning. But first of all, we're going on a short break. When we come back, it's time
Today in history. So we're talking football and a mass shooting in the U.S. Stick around.
do not understand, we will stigmatize.
What you can see is the remaining of the tanker that exploded.
The suspect equally confessed.
A 500 naira they collect them. If you no talk, then go beat you. Now 2,500 they pay.
Love that cannot be described, care that cannot be quantified. That is what you
again, and we will stay home every time you call to say you dreamt.
and the advice you give that takes us further. We say thank you.
We say thank you.
Welcome once again to The Breakfast here on Plus TV Africa. It's now time for Today in History and time to share with you some of the major events that happened on this day many, many years ago. And I'm going back to the year 2016. If you remember the name Adam Johnson, he was a pretty popular English footballer at that time. He had about 12 appearances for the English national team, had played for Middlesbrough, Leeds United, Watford, and of course Manchester City. As at the time that this happened, he had moved from Manchester City to Sunderland. He was sentenced on this day in 2016 to 6 years in prison for sexual activity with a schoolgirl. Johnson continued to play for Sunderland during his bail, and that's one of the things that Big Sam, as is popularly called, Sam Allardyce, was criticized against for letting him continue to play while he was on bail. He was charged over sexual activity with a 15-year-old girl, pleaded guilty to the two charges against him, and the other one being of child grooming, and eventually was subsequently sacked by Sunderland. As at the start of his trial, Johnson admitted grooming the girl and one of the charges of sexual activity relating to kissing her, a 15-year-old. Judge Rose at that time said Johnson had every opportunity to enter the guilty pleas to the charges he finally admitted. He ordered the footballer to pay £50,000 of the prosecution's £67,000 cost. The trial only lasted about 16 days, and he was granted bail in order to say farewell to his infant daughter. In that period, of course, he continued to play for Sunderland. After his conviction, Sunderland manager Sam Allardyce faced scrutiny, and I spoke about that earlier, for allowing him to continue to play during his bail. He was eventually released in 2019 after serving half of his sentence. He, of course, from 2004 to 2010 had played for Middlesbrough 96 times with 13 goals. 2006, he was on loan at Leeds United. 2007 on loan at Watford. And, of course, 2010 to 2012, played for Manchester City, 73 appearances for Manchester City, scored 11 goals. And then at Sunderland, where, he eventually was arrested for a sexual assault with a 15-year-old. The age of consent in England, I think it was 16. And, of course, also played for the English national team, under 19, under 21, and, of course, the English senior team from 2010 to 2012. This story is it's a perfect one to describe two things. The first one is how a very promising career can end because of lack of self-control and stupidity. A couple of years earlier, how your career can just be thrown in the gutter. How, all the many, many years, because I think it's 33 years now, obviously can't go back to playing football. How, all of those promises that he maybe had, for a very, very interesting football career, have all gone into the gutter because of plain stupidity and lack of self-control. That's one. And then the second one is how some of the things that people felt were normal or felt were okay 10 years ago can still come back to haunt them. And it's just to put that one out there, because there's things that people did in 1999 or in 1982 or in 2000 or 2005 that in that era weren't so much of a problem. But in 2021, the world is in a totally different place now. The Me Too movement is all over the place. There's more people who are bold enough to speak out. There's more people who are willing to share, their experiences from decades ago. And so it makes every single person, not just men now, to start to think about the life that they've lived in the past and how much of those, activities that they, carried out in the past would not fly in today's world. It also makes you realize how careful you should be, really, with things like sexual activity. And I don't see how in any way possible that, being with a 15-year-old girl is even a mistake. That's just plain stupidity and recklessness. And he totally deserved jail time. Probably should have been in jail for more than 6 years. But that is Adam Johnson's story. And that is how his career ended, where he maybe could have continued to make a lot of money playing football for Sunderland and for the English national team. It ended on this, this day in 2016.
This is what you will call pedophilia, isn't it?
Yes, can be described as pedophilia.
The statistics say there are about 42 million survivors of, sexual abuse, from an adult male and a younger child in the US. It says 1 in 13 or 1 in 3 girls are sexually abused before the age of 18. And 1 in 5 children are solicited sexually while on the internet before the age of 18. So you see that's another avenue. How kids are exposed to the internet and social media pretty early. You even see things online these days about how kids experiment sexually on social media, or how an adult male who should be a custodian, a guardian of this child, becomes their abuser.
Yeah.
The great thing is that in countries like this, they have legal systems that punish offenders. But cases like this happen every day in the country, maybe even now as we speak.
Absolutely.
And parents are scared to speak up. There's the issue of shame. There's the issue of the policemen who are corrupt, who will tell you, oh, you know how they speak, basically. So the great thing is, like I mentioned, a functional justice system that we need here in the country.
Absolutely.
It's not great news from my end to Today in History, March 24th, 1998. What happened today in history was the West Side school shooting. So 2 teenage boys, their friends, they were armed, they went to their school in the afternoon, they pulled the fire alarm, and while everybody was running out of the school to take cover, to exit the fire, the alleged fire, they shot at their teacher. 5 murders, they were convicted of 10 assaults. They were imprisoned until they each turned 21 years. And, there was a memorial held for the people who had died. About 9,000 people showed up for that. And back in 2019, this guy who had committed this murder, his name is Andrew Gordon, he eventually, died in a car crash. That's the story.
Oh.
Sad day in the West Side School where 5 people were fatally shot. Well,
like you said, it's as a part of United States history. It's a part of the United States. It's a sad part of their normal over there. And even until yesterday, you still hear of mass shootings where 5 people, 10 people are killed. Where now there's a campaign to stop Asian hate. If you remember, a couple of days ago, sometime last week, I believe, about 8 Asian women were shot in a spa. So what for me is the most sad part is the fact that all of these school shootings and all of these incidents, these mass shootings, have not been able to convince the United States government and the National Rifle Association, NRA, to make new laws or to change the laws with regards, or change the gun laws, in the United States. The politics concerning the NRA and the United States government is so deep and so dirty, I believe, that makes it difficult for new laws to restrict gun ownership and, of course, to make it more difficult for a person to just walk into a school and kill people. It's also interesting, and I think that research needs to be carried out as to why schools are targeted, why students shoot their colleagues and shoot their fellow students and teachers. They need to do more research into what exactly makes it happen in schools in the United States.
So really, this all goes back to gun laws that are very lax. People have a right to own firearms, and your father, your mother has a firearm, your teacher offends you, you take a gun and you go shoot. We saw the story, I can't remember what state, but here in Nigeria, this schoolgirl was found with a locally made gun, a locally made pistol. She said that her teacher had told her to cut her hair. And because she had access to that, she took it to the school and attempted to shoot at her teacher. So if we're advocating for gun laws in Nigeria, we need to know what exactly we're getting ourselves into. But that's what happened today in history. On March 24, 1998, there was a school shooting in Westside School that led to the deaths of 5 people and 11 others injured.
And I spoke about Adam Johnson, Manchester City footballer, and of course Sunderland footballer, who was on this day jailed for sexual assault of a 15-year-old in the year 2016. That's for today in history. We're taking a short break. When we come back, our first major discussion today is still talking about guns, security, and the life of a governor who has gone to meet President Muhammadu Buhari to make certain demands. Governor Samuel Ortom of Benue State, and that's our next conversation here on The Breakfast.
Politics has helped shape the decision of the polity, from conspiracy theories to good old-fashioned comic politics.
These are the results of tomorrow's election. Okay, you have it already, Abi.
I am not hungry. If I need appointment, all I need to do is to start praising government.
Plus, politics will fill the polls of the country, from friends to frenemies, even strange bedfellows, to clones and stooges. We go beyond the rhetorics and the drama to analyze the story behind the story.
Let everybody come and say. The moment we stop having charlatans occupy political offices, we will curtail hate speech.
Plus Politics, not just another political show. It's about putting you, the citizens, in the know.
This medal has been directed to empower 1,000 persons with disabilities in each state in the next 12 months.
We now start hearing the shoot of guns.
Whatever I have done.
Every public policy has winners and losers, and some will not be very happy with you, while others, usually the silent majority, will be quite happy.
Praise God, from whom all blessings flow. Welcome to your favorite program, The Moment of Truth, brought to you by the Citadel Global Community Church. Our God is a God of salvation, far above all principality and power and might and dominion, that regardless of what happens in this season, you will escape. Say to your neighbor, there is no peace for the wicked. The special anti-robbery squad who are now killing innocent citizens instead of dealing with robbers. Your axe will catch up with you. Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might.
Moment of Truth with Pastor Tunde Bakare. Sundays, 7 p.m. on Plus TV Africa.
It is engagement we need to have.
Those who suffer miscarriages are never taken into account.
Members of the National Assembly are also influence peddlers.
You are sitting on Nigerians' money.
From the barbing, I pay my rent. From the barbing, I send my children to school.
A consultative engagement.
No any tangible notification before they ban us.
It's one thing for people to be at your back and the heat of the moment, and another thing for them to still be with you when push comes to shove.
I will do everything to take Lagos out of the national grid.
Here's to strong women. May we know them, may we be them, and may we raise them. The progress of women is progress for all of us.
The World Trade Organization has appointed a former Nigerian finance minister as the new head of the organization.
I'm very proud to be the first African. I'm proud to be the first woman.
My guest tonight is a critically acclaimed author from Nigeria whose most recent bestseller. Please welcome Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie.
Giving priority to women is not an option, it is a necessity. So go girl, tell that story that has not been told before. Step into that spotlight and shine. Get up, get going. The world is waiting to be wowed by your very existence. Because when you go where no woman has been, you have no idea just how many will follow.
What we do not understand, we will stigmatize.
What you can see is the remaining of the tanker that exploded.
He suffered equally confessed.
A 500 naira they collect am. If you no talk, dem go beat you. Na 2,500 they pay.
Welcome back to The Breakfast on Plus TV Africa. Our next conversation this morning is talking of what is going to Benue State, where the governor, Samuel Otom, met with President Muhammadu Buhari to place certain demands and, of course, to share his views on the security situation in Benue State. There's also discussions on the 2023 presidential elections and whether they would be able to be run with the state of security in Nigeria today. We've invited this morning to join us Mr. Ladipo Johnson. Thank you so much for stepping in and for being on the program this morning.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. Good to see you. All right. So let's get into it. The questions, surrounding Governor Tom's assassination attempt, there's a lot of them. So let's start with that. It's one of the things that I brought up earlier on the program this morning, how damaging it is that a governor of a state would have to run 1.5 kilometers, according to him, to survive an assassination attempt. And at the end of that, still needs to go to Abuja to meet the president to make certain security demands. What does this all say to you?
Well, the first thing is that we thank God for his life and the lives of his security details. It is regrettable that we have reached this stage whereby even presumably the most protected man in Benue State is not safe. The insecurity situation in the country has deteriorated over time, over the past few years. Everyone's been talking about it. Mr. President took such a long time before changing the service chiefs. But in a way, it isn't good, but it is good that this happened to the #1 citizen in Benue State. Because now they've always known, but now they will take it it will be even more serious. The fact that the people of Benue State have faced from village to village in security issues with rampaging herdsmen or bandits or whatever you call them. The fact that he had to go to the president speaks to our federating relationship, our system of government. It makes it clear that the chief security officer of the state really is not the chief security officer of the state. He cannot do anything with the police commissioner. The police commissioner has to confirm with the IG. So you see, it opens up certain things, and as 2023 approaches, we have to ensure that we put these things at the front burner. They must be the issues that will be addressed by we the people and by those who seek to represent us.
This issue of farmers-herders clashes, insecurity, is a lingering one in Nigeria. Even way before the Boko Haram insurgency, began in like 2009, we've had insecurity. But even though it's becoming worse as the day go by, we see newspaper headlines of people being killed, people abducted, just everyday people trying to get by. And what we're hearing now is that people are saying insecurity in Nigeria would only change when people in power begin to feel the heat. Like what happened to Autumn?
Yes. Well, the main problem, I think, apart from anything else, and I think that's what you're alluding to, is the fact that our people, especially the executive arm of government, haven't shown the political will to face this problem head on. I really do not understand why. Well, I understand why, but we shouldn't be where we're at now. We've had more than enough time. Our borders are porous.
From Tom to
1 million police in Nigeria.